The islands of the OECS find themselves in the middle of an ocean, exposed annually to hurricanes that are getting more powerful, more devastating, and more frequent.
These storms bring extremely heavy rains with accompanying landslides and widespread flooding, and cause sea surges that batter our coastlines, destroying livelihoods and property.
This is our new reality. Greenhouse gas emissions by more developed countries have triggered a rise in temperature.
And as a result, ice caps are melting, coral reefs are bleaching, sea levels are rising, and climate patterns are severely disrupted.
This is the first in a series of 12 programs designed by the OECS Secretariat to examine climate change issues and responses.
Throughout the series, regional experts, technocrats, and funding agencies will discuss climate change impacts on the region and the required adaptation measures.
We will also highlight the importance of behavior and lifestyle changes and provide tips on what you can do to minimize impacts on yourself, your family, and your community.
Climate change is probably, with the exception of the current global economic crisis, the biggest issue confronting us in the Caribbean.
The fact that we're so small means that we're exceptionally vulnerable. The fact that we're islands means that most of our people live around the coast. It means that if we are gearing up for more extreme weather events, it means, therefore, that we can expect a lot more flooding. We can expect a lot more landslides. We can expect a lot more by way of isolation because bridges are washed out. We can expect so much more of the very worst that weather brings with it.
The OECS Secretariat, with funding assistance from USAID, has been charged with the responsibility to help reduce the region's risk to climate change. As such, the RAC project is focusing on interventions in the most vulnerable sectors.
We're looking at the tourism industry, we're looking at the agricultural industry, the water sector, and we're also looking at coastal areas, coastal area management, and we have interventions that we are basically doing in all of these sectors.
Our small islands of the OECS contribute very little to global warming, yet we have been placed in harm's way. And coping with climate change is placing greater demands on already limited resources. Why should you care? Because climate change is at your doorstep, and you need to know how to be ready.
As rainfall patterns shift, the management of our water resources will assume ever-increasing importance.
For example, in some countries we are helping to establish rainwater harvesting systems in hurricane shelters. We're also looking at water storage facilities that would assist at the agricultural sector in times of dry periods. We're also looking at, in some areas, addressing coastal erosion issues by interventions such as revetments in these areas.
All of these underscore the need for both technological and financial corrective measures from external sources.
And therefore, the international world recognizes this and has committed to assisting countries like the OECS in preparing and adapting to climate change activities.
And we need the resources to assist us to adapt to changes in our environment that have nothing to do with the fact that we are emitting more carbon gases than anybody else. We certainly, our footprint is very, very small.
Basically, we're about improving people's lives. And I think through the mitigation of climate change, we're able to protect these economies. We're able to protect many of the valuable sources of employment. And hopefully we're able to contribute to economic growth in these places.
But climate change adaptation is an expensive undertaking. In Layou, a coastal town on the west side of St. Vincent, the government spent in excess of $10 million to build this sea defense in order to protect the lives, roads, and livelihoods of nearby residents.
It stands as a beacon of the kind of activities, adaptation activities that governments can in fact put in place to assist the people with dealing with some of the problems that they're having with climate change, with disaster management, and with a whole host of other activities.
Over the next episodes in the series, you will see the way in which climate change is already impacting our natural environment, our critical economic sectors, and on our socio-cultural existence.
While government action is critical in the response to climate change, equally important is behavior change among local citizens.
Each one of us can change the way we do things, and we can lobby our family, friends, colleagues, and community groups to do the same.
We hope you join us on this exciting series as we seek to understand climate change.
Act now. Rally. Rethink. Respond. This message is brought to you by the OECS Secretariat with funded assistance from the United States Agency for International Development.